Welcome. We are doing a strat chat now on Symmetra and Symmetra's rework. I figured to give it a little bit just because she got a rework and life was a little bit busy. So now we are actually doing a strat chat on her and basically all the stuff she is. She's still in PTR at the moment, but we're basically going to talk about what she does now for those who have been living under a rock or scare it and had to look it up before the video. But yeah, so Garrett's on with me. We're going to be pretty much, I think we're going to end up going from map to map once we get the basics of Symmetra lined out, and then we're going to basically talk about what you can do with her. But let's go ahead and get started. So her gun now has a higher damage ceiling, so it starts out at, I believe, 60 DPS, and then it goes to 120 and then 280 DPS-wise. And instead of it ramping up every 1 second, it ramps up every 2 seconds. So it takes longer to get that higher damage output, but you get it initially faster, and it gets up higher to higher levels. Plus, you do not lock on anymore, and I think there's a slight range increase to her beam. Yes, there is. Next thing to go on is her right click. It is basically Farah's rocket that charges up. So it's a mix between Maze icicle and Farah's rocket, because it travels about the same speed, maybe a little slower, but it pretty much does it does 60 damage on impact and 60 damage on splash damage, so it's a 120 direct shot, and then 60 to whoever misses because it stacks up all of that. It does not go through barriers anymore. That is something to point out. And so that's all the stuff with her gun and stuff. Also, by the way, if you are on Twitch, make sure to check out the YouTube channel I have. I post stuff there that I don't on Twitch and vice versa. And if you're on YouTube, I do live stream this on Twitch every Friday at 3:30 Mountain Standard Time or 5:30 if you're on the East Coast. So yeah, all that stuff there. And then I do also give updates to pretty much everything on Twitter. But yeah, so you can find the links. But yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments if you're on YouTube, or put them in the chat if you're on Twitch, so that we can answer them and all that stuff. So that'd be great. Let's go
Yeah, I
on
have a
to
question very fast.
yeah,
So can she shoot through her own shield?
yeah,
Okay. I just didn't know because she can't shoot through other people's shields.
yeah. So
She can
you can
probably shoot through.
always shoot through teammate shields.
Okay. Just clarify.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, that's a good question. The shift ability is, of course, her turrets. Her turrets have been diminished. She can have a max of 6 turret. No. Ugh. She used to have a max of 6 turrets. Now she has a maximum of 3 turrets, but they do twice the slowing and twice the damage. So that's better. And plus, they can be deployed on range, which is about and the speed of them is about the same as Symmetra's old right click. So that's something worth noting, is that it basically is the same speed as her old right click. It can get destroyed midair. That is something to point out. It cannot be defense matrixed, and it can land on shields. There is a bug, I don't know if they fixed it yet or not, that makes it so that if it lands on May's wall, and the May's wall drops, it stays in midair. But now it breaks if that happens. So all that's there, pretty nice. Her E ability, do we want to cover that? I think we should cover her ultimate first, because that one takes less, and the E is a good segue. Health is the same as well. But her ultimate is now reduced to 1, and it's basically like a Mei wall you place. Of course, if you hit Q, like Mei's wall, if you hit E, you rotate it, and it's an infinitely wide and infinitely tall wall. That's 5,000 hit points. That lasts for about 15 seconds. It does get one shot by Sombra's EMP, since it destroys barriers. So it can get completely destroyed there. And then finally, your teleporter. Your teleporter is kind of interesting. It's very much like Reaper's teleporter, but not terrible, because you can take your entire team, and you have an interact key that you have to specifically bind in order for you to teleport. And you can, there's like a 1 second cooldown between teleports. Otherwise, you can just keep teleporting from one side to the other. When you place the teleporter, it the exit goes where you click, and the other one's right in front of you. So you can do that and then bounce back and forth if you want. Some strategies out there at the moment has it so that you place it down and then you use it as an escape tool. So it's kind of, I've been seeing a pseudo dive being played where literally diving out is Symmetra puts down her teleporter and everyone just goes to the teleporter and heads back and escapes pretty much. It's kind of funny.
So do you think you could actually pull off a dive with a rushdown with that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like just tossing in a teleporter right in the middle of them?
I think early days, yes. Late days, it's going to be more difficult because her teleporter has 300 hit points. Some of that is being shielded. Let me actually see what percentage of it. So yeah, 300 hit points with about, it looks like 50 HP. The rest is, shields. So Sombra can EMP it and then just destroy it very much like Zenyatta.
So it really depends on the communication of the teams playing.
Yeah.
Professional teams, probably not. If you're doing collegiate, it's probably a 50-50.
Yeah. And I think I could either... Because originally when Mercy got her res ability, my initial reaction is Mercies are going to have to be careful because if they dive in to... So like if Winston dives and dies, she can't dive into the enemy team and res for free because then she would either get flashbanged, hooked, or whatever. And I was like, yeah, so res is going to be good, but you're going to have to be careful. And then when they kept nerfing her, I kept saying the same thing. But pretty much I overestimated the skill of high-level players, which is kind of funny, because I thought it would literally be a thing of, oh, free Mercy, I'm just going to kill her. But there's a lot of issues where people just can't shoot the Mercy midair. So that could happen simply as well, because technically you say if you put down the teleporter, they can easily kill it. Yeah, if they all focus it, they can kill it. But the other side of it is can they? It's 300 hit points, and I'm not really sure. Technically, people can focus a Bastion. I imagine the teleporter is going to be a pain to deal with in solo queue. But high-level play, they might be able to deal with it. They might not. It might run into a Mercy situation with her res. What's your thoughts, Garrett? I'm kind of on the fence of if it can be counterable.
So. I don't know. I think it's fair. I think it really depends. I think the Mercy res is a good example. It kind of just depends on how focusing kind of plays into it.
Yeah. Some things as well. So there has been a toss-up on if Symmetra is going to be meta or not. I think a lot of people are weighing towards how she's going to be used as the issue. Meta or not, it's more of how she's going to be used. But I do know a couple maps. Let me go ahead and do a custom game real quick. And let's go ahead, start off with Hanamura. Yeah, this is a good map. I'm trying to remember. I think Red's offense. I might be wrong. But yeah, we're going to be testing this out because some thoughts I had on Hanamura, because especially the second point, because a lot of people run into the problem, because like Garrett, like everyone goes onto that far high ground via stairs, and the way to contest it for a lot of people is to just walk up that hallway. Well, in a lot of pro situations, they're having problems getting through that hallway, so they actually charge Zen ult just to go through that choke, they don't even use Xenil for anything else. They just use it to push themselves through. And it makes me wonder, like, the main issue is it would be nice to go around the left side because then you don't have to do that. I'm wondering, like, I think Symmetra would almost be a staple, at least on the second point, to do that kind of stuff. Just just because she can like go across that gap, because a lot of things, there's a lot of strategies around using a May wall to bring people across places. I think we'll cover that on Gibraltar with our Bastion thing. But like, so I'm standing in Hanamura and I'm in front of the choke on that little high ground perch where people try to do cheeky flanks on defense. And I could basically do this and just like mess around up here, and then I can teleport back to the back line. And then you can go in between the two and do a ton of stuff. You're pretty much in two places at once in a lot of cases. And that's almost like doubling your team's output. I'm talking in group team chat. But yeah, there's a lot that I see. So yeah, let's see. On attack on Hanamura, top left high ground up here. Trying to explain to Garrett because he can't open the PTR.
With the ult, because it does cover infinitely, in 2 dimensions, up and down, left and right.
Yeah.
It could actually block potentially the sight lines for both the that top left flank where you are and the middle as well.
Yeah.
If you were to place it right.
Yeah, that's a good point. And just like cut that off, because you could cut it off so that for your team, so you basically make it so that the window, so you put the wall across the point and having one side being the choke point and the other side being the window, and then you can jump through the window and not have that problem of people from the choke or on the right side shooting at you. Kind of like how sometimes people use a May wall to cover their side.
It does have infinite damage, right? Like you can't break it.
It's 5,000.
Oh, it's 5,000.
So
I didn't catch that.
It's 2.5 Reinhardt barriers. Technically,
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure, but I think a Roadhog whole hog can actually destroy it.
That'd be about the only thing.
Cause
not even Diva Bomb can destroy it.
No. And Pharah ult might be able to destroy it. I know Sombra ult destroys it, and that's just because she destroys barriers during her ult.
So that'll be interesting, using that ult on very compact maps like that.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting thing to look forward to.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were saying left-hand side, Hanamura.
Yeah, so you could go up left-hand side using your ult. The other side is with the teleporter. If you're standing at the choke, but you're like next to the choke, you can get onto the left high ground by the large health pack. The problem is it's exposed during that time, and I don't know how fast people can kill during that. Ooh.
Yeah, a lot of the strategies revolving around her is going to be really just like the Mercy res.
The other thing is I think they kept the invulnerability out of teleporter. So you know how there's a slight invulnerability period when you step out of the teleporter? It's like a half a second. I think it's still in, too. Not sure. But yeah.
I can tell you this, even that small little portion when Mercy had invulnerability, that was even pretty OP. Invulnerabilities can be really, really insane.
Yeah.
So if that's true, if you time it right, and this is just even on an individual basis, not even necessarily a team basis. you could actually teleport through right as a Devo bomb is coming at you and survive.
Yeah. Very much like
If
Sombra teleporter. You can do that, but you have to be very precise in your timing.
yeah, I mean, I used to do it all the time with the Mercy invulnerability. It's not too terribly hard. It's just if you have any ping at all, that's almost impossible.
Yeah. The other strategy that I'm noticing, and that can be very consistent on each map, is at the very start, if you're on defense, throwing the turrets literally at their spawn door.
Oh yeah.
Because you can get far away and just throw those down, and they're just free ult charge.
How much? Yeah, how much ult charge will you get?
I think they've
Oh,
changed the ult charge.
They can be destroyed in midair.
Yeah, they can be destroyed midair, but if you throw them before the doors even open, so like in setup, and you just like toss it across, they can sometimes get them, but I think also in solo queue it'd be really overpowered just because suddenly, oh, they're on you, and you didn't see a Symmetra.
You know, I'm thinking this might actually be really fun to play in like a 2 or 3 stack with a few really good people that you know.
Yeah, a few good men.
Yeah. Or, women too.
You can't handle the truth.
But I mean, just with the point presence and where everybody is, you could probably get pretty far in solo queue or like duo or triple queue.
Yeah. Well, in the combination of her primary fire being a high damage Zarya laser, which is hit scan, that's a good note, while having Farah rockets.
I wonder how Zarya mains are gonna take this.
I think they're gonna like it because it gives them another option to play. I don't think it takes away anything from the character. Hanzo getting his leap and his super fast arrows, I can't remember. Doing that basically made McCree mains cry because it's literally oh, you want to play McCree? Well, technically Hanzo does everything McCree can but better, and they're like, no, that's impossible.
But hit scan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like having like Farah rockets and a Zarya laser, that combination. Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking teleporter wise first point. I think a lot of it's going to be defense situated, but I'm really excited to say that a lot of her teleporters, because Garrett, I'm going to give you a hint. You might get this, you might not. If you get it, proud. But Symmetra's teleporter has 2 sections where it goes. One where the Symmetra's standing and one where she's pointing. What's a fun thing we can do where we need to be in 2 places?
One thing we can do. First thing that comes to my mind is Bastion. But probably not what you're talking about.
But what's something we need where we need to be in 2 places? Not necessarily at once.
Oh, not necessarily at once?
Yeah.
Well, no, I got nothing. I have no idea where you're going with this.
I'm thinking a 2 lanterns comp.
Oh, yeah, okay, I know that.
Think about it of like, if Reinhardt on the front has issues, or if whoever's on the front has issues, they just boom pop through the teleporter and they're back behind another set of shields.
Yeah.
And then you can pop
hold
back
on.
out. Because I imagine with the teleporter, what's going to happen is if you go through it, right after you get out, you're going to get shot at almost immediately if you're in the open.
On the teleporter.
It's about 10 seconds. And then lasts for about 7.
Okay. So
12
imagine
seconds.
This. Imagine if we just got an Orisa and a Reinhardt and we just shuffled shields all over the map in a sporadic manner.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing as well is, let's say I wanted to do something cheeky with Symmetra's teleporter. What happens is the teleporter when it gets placed, it's out in the open, and anyone that goes through it can get shot if it's out in the open. A lot of people are gonna say don't put it out in the open, put it around corners and stuff. But if you had the Reinhardt go first through it, then he can be out there with a shield, or a better one, if Orisa throws her barrier to shield the teleporter. Then you can establish instant positions with Orisa.
That's actually pretty cheeky.
Yeah. So
Matter of fact, I would even say you could dive with an Orisa even better now.
Yeah.
If you just toss in the shield
Yeah.
and then place the teleporter, I mean, you mitigate so much pressure in that split second that they really couldn't take it out.
And the other fun thing that Dive is running into at the moment that they're having issues, especially against Brigitte, is that, and it's basic cooldown mentality. So Winston jumps in, and he has 6 seconds until he can jump out. Well, he gets stunned, bashed, and tossed around where he can't do anything. And then he dies before he can get out because he dies within 6 seconds. So a lot of players are trying to figure out, and I suggest Lucio, how to get a dive to dive and then to still have their abilities to get out. Because a lot of the times people are like, well, they don't have the kill time to get us within the 6 seconds. Now people are like, oh crud, we're in there and we're stuck for 6 seconds. We need to be in there without using our movement abilities. So you could use teleporter to get those people in or out in those situations and cover that issue of dive having cooldowns that are a little too long for them. So it can technically help with dive too. But yeah, like let me.
I'm kind of interested how the rush downs will go. If you could play a dive without actually playing dive characters, you might actually be able to accomplish more.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you bring a whole new set of mechanics to that fight.
Yeah. I think that what's going to happen is you're going to run a Lucio, and you're just going to end up with a Symmetra chasing people down with a 280 damage per second beam. Yeah, like
280 damage. Thing is, it charges though.
Yeah, so 280 is the max, but if you're going through multiple people, you're just charging through them. And
How fast does it reset? If you like lose sight for a second, does it reset?
So it takes 4 seconds. I actually tested this. It takes 4 seconds after you lose sight, which is fairly long, in order for it to drop down to the next level. If you're on level 3 and you drop down to level 2 and you're still not shooting, it then takes 1 second to drop to the next level.
Oh, that's fine then.
So it's a slippery slope.
You can max that pretty fast.
And her primary fire does not consume ammo when shooting at barriers.
When shooting at barriers, so it's free ammo at barriers. Okay, that's what that meant.
Yeah. Right. So you can just damage barriers for free. It says you gain ammo, so I think you might be able to actually not have to reload if every so often you start shooting at barriers.
Wait, you actually do gain ammo?
Yeah, it says technically that you gain ammo. I think it actually gains ammo more than you lose.
Huh.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like teleporter up to this left high ground, and then you have the option to go right here, and then use this high ground to poke. You technically don't need that right high ground that much because the amount of cover you get on that high ground from this level isn't that much. So this is actually very good for low ground, and you can rotate down to the low ground. And you have a large health pack down here to deal with, and you can rotate back up here if you want to and establish like a little zone. So like a lot of the old strategies with Symmetra, as well as Sombra, was to hold down a point. And so Sombra, people who would play Sombra would go near a health pack and then kind of hold up shop there. Well, if you have a Symmetra, if you just make sure that this zone is clear for you to have a teleporter to teleport people back and forth, you can establish a position up here that they have to push into you in a lot of cases if they want to get you off of this area. So I kind of think that Symmetra, at least second point attack, has to be mandatory. No matter what meta becomes, it would have to be mandatory because, and I'm going to walk through all this right side. The right side, you have to come up here, not get shot throughout any of here, push through the
attack or defense.
Attack on Hanamura.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. I was like, defense, she wouldn't have that much. Okay.
Yeah, so just pushing through this little corridor, you would need like high value stuff. So like a lot of barriers or a lot of healing, and a lot of teams just can't do it. So like Overwatch League, Hanamura's second point defense is the best defense that you can run on Overwatch League, because on up here on the high ground, it's so good for the team to be up here on the high ground, and it's so hard for the attacking team to push through this choke that it doesn't get capped very often. So it's very interesting, because then you could run Symmetra and go up the left side instead and not have to go through that long corridor. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Hanamura. If you have anything left, I'll go ahead and switch maps. And
oh, I hate Hanamura.
yeah, me too.
Just leave it.
Horizon Lunar Colony. I don't think I want to cover that because it's getting. Oh wait, no. I was like, it's getting changed and it's on the PTR. I'm on PTR. I'm an idiot. We'll cover Horizon Lunar Colony. Oh no, someone took Symmetra. Kidding, it's just I'm alone. So let me look. I want to head up on the high ground to see if I can how the attack will work. Because you might be able to go from one high ground to the next, and just basically skip walking on the low ground. Be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing how that map turns out. I actually thought it was going to be updated.
So you can barely get it. Okay, and so if the Symmetra teleporter is on top of a breakable object and you break it, it just drops to the ground, doesn't break. It just like drops like a rock. But yeah, you can get on the top right high ground barely with the teleporter, which is pretty nice. Trying to think of what else. How does the teleporter work in space? I'm kind of curious.
Why would it work any differently?
I don't know. I just thought it would be kind of funny.
Just in case someone's like, I'm playing low gravity. I need to know how this thing works.
The low grav strats. But yeah,
Do they even still have that game mode and rotation?
Yeah. Doesn't come up that often, but yeah. So I'm thinking a lot of the strategies with Lunar Colony seems pretty bland. A lot of, I think, Symmetra is just going to be putting a teleporter up high, farther up and then farther back, so that you can go back to the back line if you're in trouble.
No, I was thinking like high ground, especially on attack.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the funny thing. I think it's going to be really strange for people to say, yeah, let's go Symmetra on attack.
I know.
After all this time, they're like, you can't do Symmetra on attack. It's like Torb offense. It's the next update.
I really hope that they remove like characters that are just dumb to play. Just remove that playstyle thing. So you can technically get from each high ground with the teleporter. How safe it's going to be, I don't know. It's really rickety. because it's kind of you barely make it, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think that's all for Lunar Colony. It's pretty bland. The strategies, I imagine it's going to be more linearized. Temple of Anubis. Any initial thoughts?
Yeah, there's only one. Do you know the Junkrat movements on that map pretty well?
Yeah.
I'm thinking that could actually open up some bigger things for that. Like, especially on that first point, you know the room with the large health pack in it?
Yeah, left side? Or
you on
high ground? High ground or low ground? Large health pack.
It's low ground.
Okay, so on attack
Yeah,
around left side.
Yeah, left side. That opening at the top there, it might be accessible now to low movement players.
Yep.
Might.
You can get through that opening with teleporter.
Yeah. And that could make for some interesting gameplay. I know Junkrat gets some pretty interesting mobility off of that.
Yeah. The other thing is the first point defense that some people play with Orisa. You don't need a Mei anymore. You can just teleport everyone up there with the teleporter. Yep. And then even stay on the Symmetra.
Or even better, if they start going across the way, they start going high ground health pack. You could teleport over there and contest them. That would be a really awkward mechanic.
Diving with teleporter? 3, 2, 1, dive? What?
Well, not even dive, because if you see them going up that stairway and you know they're going high ground,
yeah,
there is that, there's that little doorway, and you can actually put the teleporter right before that doorway, so it's not even in sight.
Yeah.
Before they actually get to the large health pack, or like as they're walking past it.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty safe bet to secure both high grounds early game, and without splitting the team 3 and 3 or 2 and 4.
So if you're on the back high ground on defense, you cannot get to the first choke. So you can't get on that high ground. But
wait, what?
So if you are on, so you know where usually Orisa sets up on defense on the high ground.
Yeah. Okay,
you cannot get the teleporter on top of the bridge. So that little.
Oh, that bridge. Okay.
Yeah, that little bridge by the choke point. But you can.
At first, I thought you said the other high ground. I was like, no. That should.
But you can get it to this weird perch that a lot of dive tanks play on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's interesting. Let me see if I can get it to that. Yeah, and then you can get it to the other. You can get it to the wall that's in between main and the right flank. You can get it on top of that wall. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, so I see like a lot of high ground tagging on each end. Second point, I would almost think that Symmetra would get switched off on second point attack. Just because
there's no high ground advantage.
Yeah. And any there are is very small.
Actually, hold on a second. You might play her just for the ult. Because think about that. If you're playing her just for the ult, and you go in just a little bit, you can mitigate all damage from all three routes to get to the point.
Yeah.
And you could mitigate a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
You could get really close to them, and especially if they're choking up on those points.
Yeah.
If they're pushing up forward quite a bit and they're not on the point explicitly, you could even get some picks if you do that.
Are you familiar with the Orisa bunker comps that are kind of around? You see them usually on Nepal. Well, on King of the Hill necessarily. Basically what they do is they take an Orisa and they go to the corner of a capture point or something like that and drop down the barrier and kind of sit in the corner behind their barrier, getting just mass healed and no one can get behind them. You can technically get away with that with Symmetra's barrier. So like walk on the point and just put the giant barrier like on the corner or whatever, or on the side, so that you're still touching the point, but it's really painful for them to get past it. I'd almost say that, yeah.
So the problem is you lose a lot of utility, though.
Yeah.
I'd say you can do it. I didn't say it's the best thing, but
Yeah. I'm restarting the match and going to Volskaya. Let's see.
Volskaya.
The left flank.
Can you get across that left flank?
I'm almost certain.
I mean, any character with mobility can, so I would assume yes.
Yep.
Unless they break. Okay. So now everybody on the team can go left flank.
Yes.
God.
But the
Oh,
other
wow.
side of it, and this is the other side with these flank routes, is if Alucio's camping it and everyone goes to the teleporter, he can just right click and knock everyone off the cliff.
Yeah, but you also have to remember
It's something to
you
worry
don't have-
about.
No, you don't have to worry about that if you're like mid game and you know everybody's at the choke point.
Yeah.
Man, that's gonna make that side flank so prevalent in quick play.
And I would almost say, like, defending at the choke would be almost useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's...
Now everyone's gonna go, there's no other strategy, and you're gonna go just camp above the point like normal people.
Yeah. And you can technically go from, like, each of the 3 high grounds on defense or offense with your teleporters. And just, like, bounce in between them. If you want. That can be pretty decent. Otherwise...
I don't know. I just can't find her having a lot of value on Volskaya.
Yeah.
That first point's pretty good, but I mean, high ground in general is good, but all the characters that need to get on high ground on Volskaya can do it pretty easily already. So, not sure about that map.
Second point... not sure on this one either. I think a lot of the teleporter can do is circumvent choke points, where you basically put the teleporter on one side of the wall and then put it on the other side and don't put it in the middle so that you can bounce across the choke point.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if Blizzard, if they're just trying to get past all the choke points.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're starting to regret that.
Maybe, yeah.
Because a lot of the time when games are unbalanced, it's really just because there's no opportunity for someone to get past the choke point.
Yeah.
And the team isn't coordinated enough to coordinate to get past the checkpoint or choke point.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if that's what they're trying to do. I wonder if they're trying to make it more playable for solo queue.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Otherwise, I don't see much else for the teleporter. Maybe around that right flank by the coast. But yeah. And a lot of this is like high level use for the teleporter, so...
Yeah, that's why I was saying, like, in general, I just don't see it being all too useful, except for a few nitpicky little details.
Because at the moment, I'm
mean,
looking for map-specific usefulness.
Well, I mean, like I was saying before, especially on, I think just in general, checkpoint maps in general, if you're going forward and if you send a shield forward or something, and you lay if you lay the shield down right in the middle of the map, going in on second point on attack,
Yeah.
you negate pressure on all 4 fronts.
Yeah.
Or all 3 going in.
You can divide pressure almost.
Yeah, I think that's just a general characteristic you get from checkpoint maps.
Okay, Blizzworld, Symmetra.
Ooh, heaven's
I
hard.
wanna actually test this real quick because I'm seeing something that could be. Hmm. So you have to be a little bit in the choke in order for you to put the teleporter on the top right high ground.
Mm-hmm.
If you're flanking around left side, you have to be just out the door a little bit in order for you to put the teleporter there.
You know, I actually haven't played a lot of quick play or even ranked games on Blizzworld.
Hmm.
Are people choking on that high ground?
So yeah, a lot of people are on the high ground, and a lot of um, smaller competitive teams go up on that high ground. But I actually see a lot more benefit being on the back line because rushdown teams can get basically on that high ground to the staircase so easily. Pretty much anymore. This
Mm-hmm.
back high ground, the back right high ground that I said would be a good spot for Ana players. You could use this as an escape point for with the teleporter, or not. No, you cannot get between the back high ground and the front high ground that way. That's a bummer. Kind of looking and almost thinking that the teleporter is not going to get that extra use on this first point at least. On a
That's why
tap,
I said at
yeah,
the beginning that's going to be hard because
yeah,
it. I think they did a good job in designing that map because all the high grounds are pretty accessible with a little effort. I mean, it takes a little effort to get up to the high ground, but they're all accessible. I don't think they cut off anyone from getting up to the high grounds.
yeah,
So you can't necessarily explicitly use the teleporter for the high grounds.
yeah,
I don't think there's a lot of value in that. And so unless you find some really cheeky stuff, you're not going to get any value out of the teleporter, and that kind of ruins the value.
yeah. Second point, running into the same thing. Third point, you can get onto some of the high grounds that are harder to get on, but besides that, that's pretty much it. And it's only useful for the attackers because it's harder for them to get onto the high ground. But besides that,
I'd say that's not her map.
yeah, no. At least teleporter
Not that
wise,
she couldn't be good on that map.
yeah,
I just don't think she has a lot of utility to contribute to the map, and she really is a utility character.
yep. Eichenwald. It's taking longer to get in.
Yeah, if I was in that game, I'd say let's show people the Bastion strategy
On
with the
Eichenwald?
teleporter.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's YouTube
That's
videos
so
out there
dumb.
of the Bastion getting just
Oh my gosh.
passed around. I want to see if you can make the right flank that you usually do with Farah with Symmetra's teleporter.
The right? What?
Nope, you can't.
That would be,
Yeah, that was a bit of a stretch from my part.
yeah. I mean, you have to like turn corners to do that. What were you thinking? You suicidal person.
Yeah.
Alright.
Not a lot of use there. I almost think most of her use is going to be on 2CP because I'm running into similar stuff on this end. Yeah, on attack, I don't see any extra flare that you can do.
I mean, in general, I think she'll always have a value just because of her teleporter. If you're playing, a dive or a rush down just to get a position So that's always something to keep in mind. Is it doesn't actually have to be a strategic move explicitly to say, oh yeah, we're gonna go this way and use the teleporter exactly like this. I mean, it can just be a willy nilly toss it out there. I mean, it's 10-second cooldown.
Yeah. Something that it's a 12-second. I double checked on that one. So something that's kind of interesting is you can actually get onto the castle on Eichenwald, with the teleporter, and you can,
high ground castle.
yeah, on second point, and you can put it on the payload, the teleporter, and have it move with the payload. So you can basically have the team bounce between pushing the cart and being on the high ground. So that might be nice. Defensive-wise, I think getting on this high ground would be the best thing. Otherwise, pretty bland. I think that's it for second point, honestly.
I think on every map that's not 2CP or control point. I think control point could be interesting as well, but
So fun fact, you can put the teleporter on the chandeliers on third point.
what?
So you know how, like, some people, if you get up, like Farah, and they get up on the chandeliers on third point Eichenwald, they can stand on it? Well, Symmetra can put her
you actually move through them. Oh,
nope.
That's funny.
Yeah, so Symmetra can put her teleporter on him. Pretty nice there. Otherwise, yeah, run into the same thing. Not a lot. I think her value on second point would be pretty good just to get onto that high ground. But besides that, not a lot of cheeky stuff. Hollywood. Hollywood.
High ground on second point might be good on that. Might.
Mm-hmm.
Again, depending on how you're playing.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, because a lot of the issues is getting onto that high ground. And there used to be a thing if people would actually take their time and actually take those elevators to get onto the high ground. If you had Symmetra's teleporter, you just, boom, toss it up there.
I'm one of those people who always gets to the one of the lifts or something as soon as it hits the bottom, and so I miss it.
Yeah. You can use the teleporter on first point offense to actually go past the choke and go around the left flank if they're all on the right. So that's pretty nice. Getting onto the high ground, fairly difficult, and I think I have a...
You mean first point?
Yeah, first point offense on Hollywood. Yeah. So you can go left on offense and go around that flank by putting your teleporter there. Ooh, okay. Here's a tip that needs to be known. So, Symmetra has to be past the choke point to put her teleporter on top of the high ground immediate to the choke point. You know that closer high ground?
Yeah.
But if the rails are down, she doesn't have to be that close. She can actually be very far away. She can be super far away and not run into the problem. But the moment you have those breakable rails in the way, she literally has to stand in the choke point in order to place it. So people going in and breaking the rails, if the other team has an attacking Symmetra, it's actually a bad strategy now. Because you give them free high ground. And likewise, I imagine if you're defense... So I imagine that some people will do a lot of, like, strategic teleporter... Well, strategic breakable items in the game. You can, of course, get onto the high ground with the teleporter, but mid-fight, not really that viable. Let me see, second point. Yeah, second point, you can just get the high ground for free. And it seems pretty safe, too, yeah. I would think Symmetra would be a must pick for non-vertical teams on second point. Third point, she can get up onto the far high ground and dance up there because it's so difficult to get on attack. So that's pretty good. I think Symmetra's pretty decent on Hollywood. Do you have any thoughts or questions?
I don't think she's that good on Hollywood, but I think she has value, at least on second point.
Yeah. King's Row. Let me see. I want to see like how the first choke works in placement of the teleporter. So what I'm trying is I'm on top of the high ground on attack where widows usually peak to see if I can do a cheeky teleporter. And no, not really. I can get on top of the theater. If that means anything. Let's see. You cannot get on the far high ground if you're standing by the choker at the theater. You have to be closer. So yeah, attack Symmetra, not the best. You technically can get up on the high ground area to contest like Widow and stuff once you get closer.
You're in King's Row, right?
Yeah. You could, if you went around the left side inside the hotel, you can pop out this left side and put the teleporter on any of these windows and then send your team up there to contest the high ground if needed. I think she'll be pretty good on King's Row, mainly just because it's so linear with minimal like high ground check.
I'm still kind of on the boat that she loses a lot of her value.
Yeah. I think she could get value on... Yeah, second point, no.
I think a lot of it's just going to be
Third.
general team comp value.
Ooh, third point. Okay, so you know how on attack there's that corner? So you go around the first bend on third point. Without going around that corner, you can put the teleporter up on that high ground and contest a possible Widow or Hanzo or whatever.
That's pretty cheeky.
Yeah. So third point, pretty good. Yeah, and then you can bounce in between them. And you can use it to get by the... the large health pack. Right on the second to third point cap. You know that large health pack on the right as you're attacking? You can actually switch in between that area and the high ground pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, pretty decent. Let's move on. Numbani. Do we need to cover Numbani? I'm thinking on attack you can get onto the high ground pretty safely. And then second point, get on the high ground. Third point, almost useless. You can get past chokes, kind of, but yeah. I think we'll skip Numbani because that was pretty much the best set, and then you can jump around high grounds on defense. And I think we should probably cover the King of the Hill maps non in view because it's a pain getting each one. So
I think King of the Hill is going to be pretty interesting, just because of there's a lot of strategies not involving staying on the point.
Yeah.
And so positioning and being able to get back to the point is pretty important.
And I think her ult's
So,
going to be pretty good on that.
well, I mean, yeah, if everybody's fighting in the point, you mitigate 50% of all the damage taken. I mean,
Yeah.
it it goes back to a whole statistics and random walk thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you assume that everybody's running frantically around the point and there's, normal distribution where everyone's going to be, if you just place it straight down in the middle, I mean, you're going to basically cut everybody in half.
Yeah.
So all of the damage is just going to tank from the other team.
Yeah, and I'm looking. So, like, Ilios. I can't remember the names for the Ilios maps. I know there's Well. Yeah, Ilios Well. I think you can get onto the high ground with her teleporter, which would be nice for flanks. So flanking would be pretty decent. Otherwise, no. On the map where Widow's very prominent, I think getting onto high grounds would be pretty nice, but not too dire. So again, no. And then the other one where you see McCree a lot, where what you have that cliff on the one side, and the point is on one side, that same side as well. Thinking you can get on the high ground and you can dance in between the two high grounds that are mid, which would be pretty nice. Besides that, not really anything there. So I'm thinking a little lower on Ilios via teleport wise. Lijiang, Night Market. You could get in the windows. So I know it works a lot like Reaper's Teleport, and I know you can get in the windows above the point. You can do that with the teleporter. Otherwise, I would say no again.
I mean,
Gardens.
essentially, I think a lot of what I'm hearing is just a bunch of nitpicky details. I don't think there are any. I
Yeah.
don't think there's really any big advantage.
No.
Now, I don't think there will be.
Yeah, Gardens, I'm not seeing anything. Oh, the other one, I can't remember what it is.
I mean,
But yeah, that one.
just for control point, I think the shield is just going to be the biggest asset.
Yeah.
I think that's just what it's going to be. I don't think teleporter. I think again, it's going to come down to team comp and play style.
Yeah. Oasis is kind of an interesting one. Because if you are on University and that's a pit in the middle that leads to a large health pack, you could put a teleporter down at the bottom of the pit and teleport people to the large health pack and back.
I mean, you
That's
essentially
possible.
have an on time of 50% of the time
Mm,
because 14-second cooldown, 7 second.
it's a 12-second cooldown with a 3-second after the teleporter goes away. So you technically have 9 seconds of uptime, which is 75%.
Okay.
So 75% uptime if it's not destroyed.
I'd say it's quasi viable.
Yeah. And then can't remember the other names for the maps. There's gardens for Oasis, and I'm thinking getting on the high ground would be pretty nice. But besides that, yeah, no viability there. And then of course we go to the one with the tower in the center. To get on the high ground, that would be pretty nice, as well as getting on top of that tower, that center tower, would be pretty nice. For some cheeky stuff, but again, besides that, not viable. I'm thinking, yeah. King of the Hill, she would be viable, but not for a teleporter. Not centered around her teleporter. Then on to Dowato. Actually, I want to test out Dowato real quick. Because the first point attack, a lot of the issues is getting onto the high ground. and it'd be super nice to just teleport up there. Yeah, and let me see if you can go from high ground to high ground. Because you can on defense, and that would be pretty nice. And on offense, just being able to contest it would be nice as well. The big thing that's kind of interesting is when teams run dive, they run dive for the sole reason of getting onto high ground easier. So, like, if you have the Symmetra teleporter, you can get on the high ground. Yeah, so you can get across the high ground with little to no contest unless they shoot you on the way out. But if you have, of course, like the Orisa barrier, then you're safe. I would think that you could run an Orisa dive with this, like discounting like if you're running 2 lanterns, but just like a pure Orisa dive where you throw the teleporter up and the barrier up to shield the teleporter and then you go up. That would be pretty nice. And then besides that, let me see if you can get on the high ground on second point. So you can get on the right high ground, but I think we're running into the same thing again. Yeah, okay. It is extremely difficult to get a teleporter on a high ground with walls on it that are breakable. So, you know, like the railing, the fences that people usually break down. It is extremely hard to get the teleporter with railings on. But once the railings are broken, you can just place it down much easier. So I'm almost thinking if Symmetra becomes meta, the meta might shift from actually breaking these to actually keeping them. It's kind of hilarious. But yeah, you can jump to this far right high ground. Any high ground you want, you can go to.
I don't think the meta will change.
No.
Or at least that one, because I mean, let's be honest, a lot of people who play the game don't study it, so they'll probably not even think about it.
Well, possibly high level like Overwatch League teams and contenders teams like that.
I bet. Yeah.
And it might have to be a PSA thing of don't break these fence pieces if the enemy team has a Symmetra. Because then you just give her free and easy teleports.
I mean, probably in like Masters, Grandmasters, maybe Diamond play, it might. But
anything below, I wouldn't even care.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think the Symmetra would care to make a safe teleport. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see Symmetras put her teleporter directly on top of the cart to contest it, and then she teleports over to it and just runs around the payload and left clicks people, and then no one shoots her because she just appeared out of nowhere.
I mean, you can spam that the right click, right?
Yeah. And it does a decent amount of damage.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fast.
How much what's the difference in ammo on it? Is it worth it to do that or to?
So it's 9 ammo. Let me see. Okay, so it is 10 ammo per right click with 70 in all. And then you conserve 1 ammo every half second with left click. So you can have the left click up for, I believe, 5 seconds. No. 1, 2, 3. So I have like 2 or 3 seconds to have left click up or to use right click. So I think it depend. DPS wise, I imagine it's better to left click, but for people longer ranges, right click and then left clicking might be better for a burst. That might be better. Yeah, I think that's it for. Oh, click the wrong button. But yeah, that's it for Dorado. Junkertown. I don't think there would be anything for Junkertown besides third point. Yeah, you could get onto the high ground behind that center pillar on the fidget spinner. Otherwise, I don't think...
Fidget spinner.
That's the call out for it, fidget spinner. Otherwise, you could do flank routes with them. Actually, yeah, let me go into Dorado real quick. I think first point would be pretty bland. Second point, eh. Third point, not too bad. Yeah, I'll go in. How long is this recording going to be?
Pretty long. It's an hour 6 minutes right now.
Yeah.
Hour 5.
Well, we're close to finishing. We're on the last stretches of the escort map. So yeah, I'm thinking like first point, offense or defense, maybe to set up, but there's not any special way to use the teleporter. Maybe getting onto the high ground once points capped would be pretty nice. The reason why I say it's kind of interesting is there's this left flank that goes into the... Because you know how the cart bends around? There's that room that it bends around. You can get there with your teleporter. And that would be a nice kind of flank. But besides that, not too bad. I wonder if our flank works better with the teleporter. So let's see. Yeah, I imagine some strategies might be around using teleporter out of line of sight. So like stand behind a wall and stand behind cover and put the teleporter next to another piece of cover so that you can dash in between covers pretty much. Yeah, I think that's it for third point. Well, second point. Third point, you can go up onto a fidget spinner and basically take up a defensive position there pretty safely. So that's pretty good, but besides that, that's it. That one's pretty bland overall. Rialto, I actually want to check this one out because off the top of my head, I don't know. I haven't thought about this one. Any thoughts on possible Rialto strats?
It's just such a crazy map, I still don't understand it.
I think now people are finding that it's I think it's more defensive, defensively balanced. Teleporter can go from spawn to high grounds, which is pretty nice, and then you can go down the stairs. That's pretty cheeky. So you can go from the spawn high ground to the right side high ground and going down the staircase. So you can get out there. So that's a quick rollout. And then I guess using it on high grounds. Nothing else too cheeky. Ooh, okay. So second point, as you're crossing the bridge, there's that high ground on the Opera House. You can actually put the teleporter on there and get up on the high ground on the Opera House. That's pretty nice. I kind of like that. And then, of course, using the teleporter for getting up on some of these high grounds. And then
so, I mean, basically, the thing we learned today is use it on 2 CP. And everything else is just kind of situational.
Yeah. Of like you can get value out of it just by getting onto the high ground. Route 66, getting it on top of Big Earls would be pretty nice. Second point, getting on those high grounds would be pretty nice. Third point, absolutely nothing. Yeah. Ooh. I'm kind of curious, actually. I just thought of something. I'm heading to third point, and I'll explain what I thought. So, high intensity. So, you know how there's those rotating platforms?
Mm-hmm.
What if you put your teleporter on one of those rotating platforms and let it rotate a bit and then teleport through it?
With 7 seconds,
2, 3.
you'd probably get
What?
to the end.
It just disappeared on me.
Or Blizzard could say that you're hacking. That's also a vibe answer.
Oh,
There's a
okay.
range limit.
There's a range limit to how far the teleporter can be away from you. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, I thought I could actually basically put a teleporter clear at their spawn. That would have been a little too cheeky. But hey, worth the test. Last point, Gibraltar. I think this one actually is going to be a map for her.
Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that one.
Mm-hmm. Just because...
High ground galore. Yep.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. A character with no vertical mobility is good on high ground. Not just because she can get there with the teleporter, but everyone else can. She is not biased towards vertical mobility. So yeah,
What do you mean she can't get there with the teleporter? She can get there.
Well, I said not just that she can do it, she can bring other people. And that's why Reaper's teleport is terrible. But yeah, you can get onto this bridge, and then you can go around this right side, set up a bastion.
Reaper's gonna be, like, almost worthless now.
Yeah.
In terms of teleporter, like, his positioning is just gonna be like, oh, wasn't that fancy? You did that.
Yeah. And technically, I think Symmetra actually has better damage than he does now, which is going to be sad. So, and his Death Blossom is absolute trash at the moment. Good in solo queue, bad in actual competitive, because then there's so many times where like Death Blossom goes off and it's like, oh wait, nope, they're not dead yet. They're still dying, and they left. They walked away. But yeah, getting onto this high ground, I wonder, so like what would we do for a Bastion comp? So we definitely have a Bastion. Definitely have like a Ryan or an Orisa. A Symmetra, and then we have 3 other spots that we can put characters on. And it doesn't matter what character. Whereas the old one with the Mei wall, you needed a Lucio as well. You needed a Mei and a Lucio.
You know, what if you actually did a bunker comp? And...
Mobile bunker?
So this is going to sound crazy, but literally camp in one spot. Send the teleporter somewhere else. Everybody goes through it. And you just, like, move the bunker instantly.
I was just like... thinking about that. Like...
Oh my gosh.
Because we talk about with, like, the... our 2 Lanterns comp is basically of... It's hard for them to dive you because they pick the easiest to dive, and then it's just gone. Imagine,
can you imagine that?
Imagine a death ball that when a dive team goes to dive on them, they disappear. Just straight up like, nope.
That would be... You know, I wonder if that's actually, like, a counter dive tactic. I wonder if that's going to become a thing. Like, oh my god, they're diving, just everybody teleports out.
Boosh, gone. And then, like, the hardcore dive team...
Brigitte stunned for a slight second just so everybody can get out.
And then, like... And then it comes down to, okay, well, the dive team goes, well, it's okay, we'll cut our losses. But in order for us to have a better dive, what we're going to do is we are going to have Tracer just jump at the team by herself and then scare them to teleport. That's going to be like... And then we dive whatever they teleport. And the funny thing is that you can still teleport back and forth through the teleporters. It's not like an entrance and exit. And it's only on a second cooldown for you to go back. That's just dirty.
It's gonna be pretty funny. I can see some pretty trolly comps coming from this.
Yeah, and then
I kind of see this becoming a May thing. Like, oh god, they're playing, they're playing Symmetra, guys. Watch the wall.
Yeah, and then there's like the third at the very back, on the high ground. You can get there with the teleporter. You can get on top of shuttle with the teleporter. It's just like, because there's also the thing of people contesting the high ground while also pushing the payload, and they usually throw like a dive tank on it, like Diva or Winston. But you could put the teleporter on the payload and then one on the high ground so that if you need that person, they can just step through the teleporter. And then basically, yeah, you can get it onto all the high grounds. Yeah. Third point, you get onto all the high grounds. Nothing cheeky, but...
Just utility.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of her maps.
So that pretty much cleans up all the maps. Do you have anything final to say? If anyone has any questions, go ahead and ask them now. Speak now, forever hold your peace.
No?
No thoughts?
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I think basically what they're doing is they're making a Mercy res out of Symmetra.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see her what is it, percentage played in game or whatever on overbuff or yeah, I can see it just skyrocketing.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be on the magnitude of Mercy.
Yeah. Real talk, we all know that in a month's time, all the pros are going to be crying for it to get nerfed. How much do you bet?
Dude, that happens every single time there's an update, it feels like.
Well, yeah. Sombra.
Well,
Mercy.
I mean, when you think about it, when you look at the pros, I mean, really what they do is they become really good at one character. And so when the game changes and they have a possibility of not being good at that one character anymore, they kind of complain.
Yeah. Because
their literal value in the game just got nerfed.
Yeah. Or their DPS value goes out. So, like...
I mean, I can see why they complain, but it's just like... It's stupid because they just are being lazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, there are multiple ways to play the game.
What? Dude. Crazy
what,
talk.
You thought dive was the only thing you could do? Oh, no.
Nah, man.
Yeah.
Pretty hilarious. Yeah, we don't have any questions, so I think that's going to be the end of it all. Thank you all for watching. Remember, like, if you want to keep up to date, you know what to do pretty much. But yeah, thanks for watching, and see you later. Bye!